Have you ever felt drained by trying to control people or situations, desperately holding on to relationships or expectations that only disappoint you? People will leave, misunderstand you, and choose others over you. And the more you try to hold on, the more you lose your peace. So why do we keep fighting battles that don't serve us? This is where the Stoic mindset of "let them" offers a liberating alternative. It's not about weakness or giving up. It's about strength, clarity, and the courage to let go. Let them walk away. Let them misunderstand you. Let them make their choices, while you stand firm in your own. Their actions don't diminish your worth, but highlight your power to rise above. In this video, we'll dive into 10 transformative insights from Stoic philosophy to show you how to let go of what doesn't belong to you, accept life on your terms, and cultivate unshakable inner freedom. This isn't about surrender. It's about reclaiming your energy, your boundaries, and your peace. Stay until the end to uncover these timeless lessons that will change the way you live and love. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Victory Stoic for more empowering insights. We'd love to hear your story. How have you embraced letting go? Share in the comments or affirm your growth by writing, "I choose strength and freedom." Let's begin. Number 1. If they choose someone else over you, let them in love. Few things sting more than being chosen second, or not at all. Whether it's a partner who prioritizes someone else over you or someone you deeply care about who decides to pursue another, the instinctive response is often to fight, to prove your worth, to win them back. But here's the truth. Love that requires competition isn't love worth keeping. Imagine being in a relationship where your partner's attention starts to drift. They seem more invested in someone else, leaving you questioning your place in their life. You could plead for their focus, change yourself to meet their expectations, or beg them to stay. But what does that leave you with? Exhaustion, self-doubt, and a fractured sense of worth. Instead, let them choose. Let them walk toward whoever they think fits their life better. When you stop trying to prove you're enough for someone else, you reclaim your dignity and self-respect. Love, when it's real, doesn't require begging or convincing. It thrives on mutual appreciation and effort. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." By letting someone go when they choose someone else, you shift your thoughts from loss to empowerment. You tell yourself, "I deserve to be with someone who chooses me wholeheartedly, without hesitation." For example, imagine your partner decides to leave for someone else. The temptation might be to ask, "What do they have that I don't?" But instead, take a deep breath and let them go. Don't cling to what's slipping away. Instead, focus on what remains: your self-worth, your peace, and the opportunities ahead of you. When they walk away, you've got something invaluable: the chance to be with someone who truly values you. Letting them choose someone else doesn't mean you've lost. It means you've chosen yourself. It's a powerful act of self-love, a reminder that you don't need to fight for a place in anyone's heart. Those who truly care for you will never make you feel like a backup plan. So, if they choose another, let them. Let them leave, because their departure doesn't diminish your worth. It sets you free to find someone who will choose you every time, without hesitation or comparison. Number 2. If they show you their true self, let them. Sometimes the most painful truth is seeing someone for who they truly are, especially when their reality doesn't align with the image you've cherished. You might have imagined them as loyal, kind, or dependable, only to be confronted with actions that tell a different story. When they show you their true self, don't resist. Don't cling to the illusion you've created of them. Accept what's real, no matter how much it hurts. Imagine you're in a long-term relationship. For years, you believed your partner was someone who valued honesty and mutual respect. Then one day, you discover they've been unfaithful. The instinct might be to deny what you've uncovered, to rationalize their betrayal. Maybe it was a mistake, maybe I wasn't giving them enough attention. You hold on to the version of them you've built in your mind, hoping they'll return to being the person you thought they were. But the truth is right in front of you. They've shown you their lack of integrity through their actions. Choosing to hold on to the fantasy will only prolong your pain and rob you of the chance to move forward. Letting them be who they are doesn't mean condoning their behavior. It means acknowledging reality and refusing to let their actions define their worth. Another example. A close friend whom you've trusted for years suddenly reveals their selfishness when you're in a time of need. You've always believed they were someone who would have your back, but when you ask for help, they dismiss you with excuses. You want to believe they're just busy, that this is out of character, but the truth is, their actions have been consistently self-serving. They're showing you who they are, and it's time to let go of the illusion. As painful as it is, facing the truth is liberating. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change. I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone. The harm is in persisting in your self-deception." This wisdom applies not just to our own mistakes, but to the way we view others. Accepting someone's true self allows you to act from clarity rather than delusion. Yes, it's heartbreaking to realize that someone you cared for isn't who you thought they were. But clinging to a false image only deepens the wound. When they reveal their true nature, let them. Let them be who they are, even if it's painful to see. Accepting the truth is not a weakness, it's a strength. It's the first step toward freeing yourself from illusions and opening your life to relationships built on authenticity and mutual respect. Number 3, if they act like they don't need you, let them. Few things sting more than realizing someone you value deeply, whether a friend or a romantic partner, treats you as though you're unnecessary in their life. The instinct might be to prove your worth to them, to remind them of all you've done or how much you care. But here's the truth. You should never have to force anyone to see your value. Your worth isn't something that needs to be proven. It exists regardless of whether they acknowledge it or not. In friendship, the friend who no longer tries. Imagine you have a friend you've always supported, celebrating their achievements, comforting them in tough times, and making the effort to keep the relationship alive. But over time, you notice they don't reciprocate. They rarely check in, never initiate plans, and treat your presence as optional. You find yourself constantly reaching out, trying to maintain the friendship while they remain indifferent. Instead of chasing their attention, take a step back. Stop texting first. Stop trying to remind them of the bond you once had. If they act like they don't need you, let them live without you. Their behavior speaks volumes, and by letting them go, you're not losing. You're reclaiming the time and energy you deserve to spend on people who value and prioritize you. True friends don't need to be convinced to show up. In love, a partner who takes you for granted. Now consider a romantic relationship where your partner has grown distant. They no longer make time for you, dismiss your concerns, and behave as though your presence is a given. You feel unappreciated and start thinking, if I try harder, they'll see my worth. You might cook their favorite meal, go out of your way to accommodate their needs, or shower them with affection, hoping they'll realize how much you matter. But the hard truth is, if someone consistently acts like they don't need you, no amount of effort will change their perspective. Instead, let them experience life without your support. Stop trying to prove your value. If they care, they'll recognize your absence and return with genuine effort. If they don't, then they've shown you where you stand, and it's better to move on than to stay where you're undervalued. The Stoic perspective. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. You can't control how others see you or treat you, but you can control how much of yourself you give to people who don't value it. Letting someone act like you don't matter isn't about giving up. It's about honoring your worth and refusing to diminish yourself for anyone's attention. When someone acts like they don't need you, let them. Don't beg, plead, or try to remind them of your importance. Your worth isn't contingent on their recognition. By stepping away, you protect your energy, preserve your dignity, and make room for people who truly see and appreciate you. Sometimes letting them go is the loudest and most powerful statement you can make. Number 4, if they want to leave, let them sometimes. The hardest thing to do is to let someone go. Whether it's a friend, a lover, or even a family member, their desire to leave feels like a personal failure, a wound to your heart and ego. The urge to hold on to them, to convince them to stay, can be overwhelming. But the truth is, when someone wants to leave, the kindest thing you can do for them and yourself, is to open the door and let them go. In doing so, you preserve your dignity, your peace, and the space in your life for people who truly want to be there. The story of Mia and Jack. Mia had been in a relationship with Jack for 3 years. They had shared countless memories, weekend getaways, late-night talks, and dreams of a future. But over the past few months, Jack began to pull away. He canceled plans, avoided conversations about commitment, and seemed distant. One evening, after Mia brought up their future, Jack sighed heavily and said, "I don't think I can do this anymore." Mia's heart sank. Her first instinct was to plead with him to stay, to remind him of everything they had built together. But as she looked into his eyes, she saw the truth. Jack had already made up his mind. No amount of convincing or emotional appeals would change that. Instead of begging, Mia took a deep breath and said, "If this is what you need, I won't stop you." She opened the door, literally and figuratively, and let Jack leave. That night, Mia felt an ache like no other. But she also felt a quiet strength. She had chosen to honor Jack's decision without compromising her dignity. Over time, she realized that letting him go had freed her to focus on herself, her dreams, and her relationships with people who genuinely valued her presence. Jack's departure, though painful, became a turning point in Mia's journey towards self-respect and peace. Why letting them go is powerful. When you hold on to someone who wants to leave, you're fighting a losing battle. Their heart is already elsewhere, and your resistance only prolongs the pain. Letting them go doesn't mean you've failed, it means you're wise enough to value your peace more than an unwilling connection. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Letting go is choosing to prioritize that precious privilege. If they want to leave, let them. Hold the door open. Not with bitterness, but with grace. Their departure doesn't diminish your worth. It creates space for your growth and for people who truly belong in your life. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It's a testament to your strength and your commitment to preserving your peace. By releasing what no longer serves you, you reclaim your freedom and take a powerful step toward living authentically and fully. Number 5. If they act like they don't value you, few things sting more than realizing someone treats you as though you don't matter. Whether it's a partner who dismisses your feelings, a friend who takes you for granted, or a colleague who undermines your contributions, the pain of being undervalued can be difficult to bear. But here's the truth. Your worth isn't dependent on their recognition. It's inherent, unchanging, and doesn't require their validation. If someone acts like you're insignificant, let them. Walk away with your dignity intact. You never need to beg for respect. The story of David and his partner. Sarah. David had been in a relationship with Sarah for over 2 years. From the beginning, he was devoted, showing up for her emotionally, helping her through challenges, and making her a priority in his life. But over time, David noticed a troubling pattern. Sarah often dismissed his concerns, prioritized her own needs, and acted as if David's efforts were expected, not appreciated. One evening, after a long day at work, David tried to talk to Sarah about feeling overwhelmed and needing support. She brushed him off with, "You're just overthinking. I have my stuff to deal with." That was the moment David realized the truth. He had been trying to prove his worth to someone who didn't value him in return. Instead of pleading for her attention or explaining why he deserved respect, David decided to stop. He chose to let Sarah live her life the way she wanted, but without him in it. Walking away wasn't easy, but it was necessary. By letting go of someone who acted like he didn't matter, David reclaimed his time, energy, and self-respect. Over time, he realized that his value wasn't something Sarah or anyone else had the authority to define. The Stoic perspective. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If you spend your time trying to force someone to value you, you allow their disregard to shape your self-perception. But when you let go of those who act like you're unimportant, you declare your worth, unshaken by external approval. Why letting them go is powerful. When someone consistently fails to value you, holding on doesn't make you stronger. It drains you. By letting them go, you protect your energy and teach yourself that your worth is not conditional. You're not in competition for anyone's respect or attention. The right people will see your value without being asked. If someone acts like you don't matter, let them. Don't lower yourself to beg for recognition. Instead, walk away with confidence, knowing that their failure to value you reflects their limitations, not yours. By choosing to let go, you make room for relationships and opportunities that honor your worth. Remember, a man who knows his value never has to prove it. Let them go and watch how life rewards your self-respect. Number 6. If they always put themselves first, let them force. It's frustrating when someone constantly prioritizes themselves, leaving your needs and feelings as an afterthought. Whether it's a friend, partner, or colleague, this behavior can make you feel undervalued or even invisible. But here's the truth. Their self-centeredness doesn't diminish your worth. It simply reveals their priorities. If they always put themselves first, let them. Don't waste your energy trying to change them or prove your importance in their life. The story of Alex and his friend, Jake. Alex and Jake had been friends since college. Alex was the kind of friend who always showed up, helping Jake move apartments, celebrating his wins, and lending an ear when Jake needed to vent. But when Alex faced challenges, Jake was nowhere to be found. Plans were often canceled last minute, conversations were dominated by Jake's issues, and Alex's needs were consistently overlooked. One day, Alex asked Jake for advice about a difficult career decision, hoping for support. Jake barely listened, quickly steering the conversation back to his job frustrations. That was the moment Alex realized the truth. Jake always prioritized himself, and no amount of effort from Alex would change that. Instead of confronting Jake or demanding reciprocity, Alex chose a different path. He stopped expecting Jake to act differently and focused his energy on people who valued his presence. He let Jake continue putting himself first, but from a distance. Over time, Alex felt lighter, no longer drained by a one-sided friendship. The Stoic perspective, Epictetus wisely said, "We are not disturbed by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens." In situations like Alex's, the pain doesn't come from Jake's selfish behavior alone. It comes from the expectation that Jake should behave differently. By letting go of that expectation, you free yourself from disappointment and focus on relationships that align with your values. Why letting them be is essential. When someone always puts themselves first, it's easy to feel tempted to call them out or fight for their attention. But the truth is, their behavior reflects their priorities, not their worth. Instead of trying to shift their focus, step back and reassess how much of your energy they deserve. Letting them prioritize themselves allows you to redirect your energy toward people and pursuits that truly matter. If someone consistently places themselves above all else, let them. Their actions are not a reflection of your values, but of their perspective. By choosing to let them be, you honor your worth and create space for balanced, reciprocal relationships. Remember, your time and energy are precious. Spend them on people who see you as more than just a supporting role in their story. Let them put themselves first, while you put your peace and well-being first. Number 7, let them take responsibility. Taking responsibility for someone else's mistakes or choices might feel like an act of care, but it often does more harm than good. When you shield others from the consequences of their actions, you rob them of the chance to learn, grow, and become accountable. Let them take responsibility for their own lives, their failures, and their own decisions. It's not your job to carry their burdens. It's theirs. The story of Ethan and his younger brother. Ethan had always felt responsible for his younger brother Mark. Growing up, Ethan stepped in whenever Mark got into trouble, helping him finish homework, covering for him when he skipped chores, and even paying his parking tickets once they were adults. But Mark never seemed to change. He continued to neglect his responsibilities, knowing Ethan would swoop in to fix everything. One day, Mark called Ethan in a panic, saying he was about to miss rent because he had spent his money recklessly. Ethan hesitated. He had the money to help, but he realized this wasn't just about rent. It was about a pattern. If Ethan bailed Mark out again, Mark would never learn to manage his finances or face the consequences of his choices. So, Ethan calmly said, "I can't help you this time. You'll need to figure this out yourself." Mark was frustrated and blamed Ethan for not helping, but over time, he started to take his financial responsibilities more seriously. By stepping back, Ethan allowed Mark to grow in ways he couldn't while being shielded from his own mistakes. The Stoic perspective. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This wisdom applies to relationships as well. You can't control the decisions others make or the consequences they face. What you can control is how much of your energy you invest in their struggles. Letting them take responsibility isn't abandonment. It's trusting that they're capable of learning and adapting. Why letting them take responsibility matters. When you constantly take on the weight of someone else's mistakes, you drain your energy and enable their lack of accountability. By stepping back, you allow them to experience the natural consequences of their actions. This might mean they struggle in the short term, but it's through that struggle that growth happens. If someone makes a mistake, let them take responsibility. Resist the urge to fix everything for them, even if it's painful to watch. By doing so, you empower them to grow, mature, and learn from their experiences. Remember, your role isn't to carry others' burdens. It's to carry your own with strength and dignity. Let them stand on their own, and you'll find that your relationships become healthier and more balanced. Number 8, accept them as they are. One of life's hardest lessons is learning to accept that our parents, no matter how much we love them, may never be exactly who we want them to be. For a daughter and her mother, this dynamic can be particularly challenging. Mothers often have strong opinions about how their daughters should live, and daughters, in turn, long for understanding and approval. However, trying to change a mother's deeply ingrained beliefs or behaviors often leads to frustration. Acceptance, on the other hand, creates space for peace. The story of Emma and her mother. Emma had always struggled with her mother Clara's critical nature. Clara had a way of making subtle comments that stung, even when she meant well. You'd look so much better if you lost a little weight, or are you sure that career choice is stable enough? Emma spent years trying to prove herself, hoping to earn her mother's unreserved approval. She tried diets she didn't like, pursued a corporate job she hated, and constantly felt like she wasn't enough. One day, after an exhausting phone call, where Clara questioned Emma's decision to leave her high-paying job to start her own business, Emma had a realization. Her mother wasn't going to change. Clara's comments came from her fears and worldview, not from a lack of love. Emma decided to stop trying to win her mother's approval and instead focus on building her own life in a way that made her happy. The next time Clara remarked upon her choices, Emma smiled and replied calmly, "I appreciate your concern, Mom, but I'm confident in what I'm doing." Instead of arguing, Emma accepted her mother's perspective without letting it affect her self-worth. Over time, she set healthy boundaries, choosing when to engage and when to let comments pass. This shift not only improved Emma's peace of mind, but also softened their relationship, as Clara began to see Emma's confidence and strength. The Stoic perspective. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. This doesn't mean tolerating harm or abandoning your values. It means understanding that the people we love are shaped by their own experiences, and accepting them as they are allows us to focus on what truly matters, our peace and the love we can still share. Why acceptance is empowering. When you stop trying to change your mother's behavior or opinions, you free yourself from the emotional weight of constant conflict. Acceptance doesn't mean agreeing with everything she says. It means recognizing her humanity and her limitations while maintaining your boundaries and identity. If your mother holds opinions or behaviors that clash with your values, accept her as she is. This doesn't mean you have to agree or let her dictate your life. Instead, choose to love her within the reality of who she is, not the idealized version you wish she could be. Acceptance is a gift you give both to her and yourself, a step toward peace, clarity, and a relationship grounded in understanding rather than control. Number 9, let them make their own decisions. It can be difficult to watch someone close to you make choices you don't agree with, especially when you believe those choices might lead to hardship. But every person has their journey, their lessons to learn, and their passions to pursue. Trying to control their decisions only creates tension and undermines their autonomy. Sometimes the greatest act of love is stepping back and letting them walk their path. The story of James and his younger brother. Ryan James was the older brother who had always taken a protective role in Ryan's life. James worked hard to build a stable career in finance, earning a good income and enjoying the respect of his family. So, when Ryan announced that he was leaving his well-paying job to pursue his dream of becoming an artist, James was alarmed. "How are you going to pay your bills?" James asked. "What about building a future for yourself? Art doesn't guarantee success." He tried to convince Ryan to reconsider, but Ryan stood firm. "This is what I love," Ryan replied. "I'd rather take the risk and try than regret never doing it." James struggled with the decision, worried that Ryan was making a mistake. But then he remembered something their father used to say: "Life isn't just about what's safe, it's about what makes you come alive." James realized that his fears were his own, and it wasn't his place to dictate Ryan's path. He chose to step back, offering his support instead of his criticism. Months later, Ryan wasn't making much money, but he was happier than James had seen him in years. He was hosting small art shows, connecting with like-minded people, and slowly building a name for himself. Watching Ryan thrive in his way, James felt a sense of pride, not because Ryan had taken his advice, but because he had followed his own heart. The Stoic perspective, as Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This applies to our relationships too. You can't control the decisions others make, but you can control how you respond to them. By letting Ryan pursue his passion, James demonstrated respect for Ryan's autonomy and preserved their bond. Why letting them decide matters. When you try to control someone's decisions, even out of love, you risk creating resentment and undermining their confidence. By stepping back, you allow them the freedom to learn, grow, and take ownership of their choices, whether they lead to success or valuable lessons. If someone close to you chooses a path you wouldn't take, let them. Trust that they are capable of navigating their journey, even if it's different from yours. Support them with understanding, not control. By letting them decide, you honor their individuality and strengthen your relationship, showing that your love isn't conditional on them doing things your way. Their journey is theirs to walk, just as yours is yours. Number 10. Let them see that you don't need them to be complete. It's natural to want to feel valued by others, whether in relationships, friendships, or professional circles. But there's a quiet power in showing that your happiness, self-worth, and fulfillment don't depend on anyone else. When you shine from within, driven by your own goals and grounded in self-respect, the right people and opportunities will naturally gravitate toward you. Let them see that you don't need them to define your worth, and watch as your independence draws genuine respect. The story of Rachel and her ex-boyfriend. Rachel had been in a long-term relationship with Ethan, a man who often undermined her confidence. He would make comments like, "You're lucky I'm with you. You'd be lost without me," or imply that her career wasn't as significant as his. Over time, Rachel began to internalize these ideas, feeling as though her value was tied to Ethan's presence in her life. When Ethan abruptly ended the relationship, Rachel was devastated. At first, she felt broken, questioning whether she could truly thrive without him. But after weeks of self-reflection, she decided to focus on herself, something she hadn't done in years. Rachel took up painting again, a hobby she had abandoned during the relationship. She started working out regularly, rebuilding her confidence. She even pursued a promotion at work, which she had hesitated to go for, and got it. Months later, Rachel ran into Ethan at a social event. He seemed surprised at how composed, confident, and happy she looked. "You seem different," he said. Rachel smiled and replied, "I finally realized I don't need anyone to make me feel whole." Ethan's presence no longer affected her. She had discovered her strength, and she wasn't going back to the version of herself that had relied on someone else for validation. The Stoic perspective. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look." Your completeness comes from within, not from the approval or presence of others. By cultivating inner strength and focusing on your growth, you become resilient to external dependencies. Why this matters? When you demonstrate that you don't need someone to be complete, you shift the power dynamic. Instead of seeking validation, you command respect. Your independence becomes a magnet for the right people. Those who value you not because they think you need them, but because they admire your self-reliance. Let them see you thrive without them. Focus on your passions, nurture your strengths, and build a life that reflects your values and aspirations. When you shine from within, you attract what truly aligns with you. Your value doesn't hinge on anyone's presence in your life. It's rooted in the light you create for yourself. Show them and yourself that you are whole, no matter who comes or goes. Conclusion. The let them mindset is not about giving up or losing. It's about liberation. It teaches us to release the need to control others and to accept people and situations as they are. By letting go, you protect your inner peace and focus on your value, rather than wasting energy on what is outside your control. Letting them go is not a loss. It's an affirmation of your strength and self-worth. True freedom comes from choosing to live your life on your terms. Let others live theirs, make their choices, and face their journeys, while you focus on what truly matters: your growth, your peace, and your happiness. If this video resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on how letting go can transform your life. Like, share, and subscribe to Victory Stoic for more insights on living a life of clarity and strength. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your story in the comments below, or affirm your journey with "I choose freedom and peace." Let's continue building a community grounded in wisdom and self-respect.